Couldn't get it all, Kyle?
Ready to go.
Dog's ready.
On our first adventure. Daisy and Ginger, ready to go.
Ready. Got a cap on. Don't say anything right now.
Okay, stop. Let me explain a little bit of what had just happened there. You see, a part of this is, part of the agoraphobia is the fear of course, getting out. And a lot of times I try to find ways, subconsciously I guess, to sabotage myself and keep myself from stepping out and doing those things. And sometimes that fear leads to anger, and that anger leads to frustration. And anyway, I wasn't really in the best of moods right before leaving, and we talked for a little bit, and finally I was just like, bleep it, let's go. And right when we agreed to go is when she started recording, and she said that, of course, don't say anything.
Okay, Kyle.
So we gotta keep this PG?
Gotta keep it PG. For the dog's sake, for Daisy's sake.
Alright.
Let's go. Crank her up, Kyle.
Let's go.
What do you say? This is some what? Gigi, where's Mama's baby? There she is.
We took a scenic route down to Marble Falls. It was so less stressful than like the major freeway. It was actually a beautiful drive. Once you head south to Abilene, it doesn't take too long to in the hill country. Really, really pretty down there, but I still get a little nervous on hill country roads. You know, one of my fears has been trying to learn how to drive again. You know, you spend 20 years not driving, it can be kind of weird as it is, even if you don't have mental issues like blacking out in stressful situations. So yeah, driving is rough for me, but you know, it's getting better. I've only been driving locally though, just around here up until now. For the past 5 years, I've just been driving around town. This is the first trip I've taken.
Guess this is our courthouse, maybe?
There's a sign. We can go up there and read the board.
Over there?
Well, we made it to Coleman. We're out front of the Coleman Courthouse, and show you some interesting things. I took some still shots.
Well, it was getting close to lunchtime, so we decided to ask our friendly GPS robot this question. Where's the best food in Coleman? It answered, best fried chicken. So I said, yeah, fried chicken sounds great. Where's the best fried chicken place? It answered, best fried chicken. Oh my God, yes, I yelled. Where's the best fried chicken? It replied once again, best fried chicken. Then it gave a street address. It was our location, man. I was confused as can be. So I let out another groan and looked up, and guess what? I saw a sign. You know what it said? It said, best fried chicken. We went in and we were welcomed by friendly staff who served us promptly. As far as the chicken goes, guys, I have to say they ain't lying. I'm not kidding, guys. This was the juiciest, tenderest, crispiest, best chicken I've ever had in my life. If you ever find yourself in Coleman, you have to check out Best Fried Chicken.
It's me, just checking in. It's the end of our first night. We're at the motel. It's about 11:30 at night. She's asleep, and I'm not. Kind of par for the course with a lot of this for me is I don't really sleep very well, or that often. Seems like the tireder I am, the harder it is to sleep sometimes. But I'm gonna try to get a little bit of sleep and get up. I look forward to the caverns in the morning. I've been there once before, about 12, 13 years ago or so, and I really enjoyed it. And so I guess I'll see you all tomorrow. And thanks for all of your supports. Michael, Tabitha, Buddy Nugs, Brandon, Kim, Raymond, Ricky, all you guys, man. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate it. And honestly, I know you hear people say this kind of shit all the time, and you're like, yeah, whatever, but I really don't think I'd be here if it weren't for you guys, man, because getting to know a lot of y'all over the last couple of years has really kind of helped me get out of my shell a little bit. And yeah, I mean, it's really appreciated, like, a lot. The power of people, man, the power of goodness and kind hearts, that's what it takes, man, that's what it takes. And those of you who've known me, you know, Brandon, Dave, Michael, some of you guys, man, y'all know how much I appreciate you, and y'all know how hard this has been for me over the last 2 decades. And man, I'm just trying to live. And thanks for you guys being a part of it.
Well, we figured out why we had such a rough time sleeping. This brings us to our first ever Do Not Enter segment of the channel. As in, do not enter this motel in Marble Falls. I won't say the name, but let's just say they leave the light on for you for a reason. That next day, we took the dogs out and noticed a man taking pics of stacks of mattresses along the property line. We asked, what's up? He said, this place has bed bugs, and I'm taking pics. We immediately went back to our room and checked. He was right. It didn't take long to find a few. I actually captured one in one of them plastic cases used to hold earplugs. I'm upset that neither of us thought to record the whole event, but our minds were on getting out of there, if you know what I mean. They denied and got angry that we wanted our money back. Then they called us liars until I pulled out proof in that little plastic case. Then the manager started getting angry at us and threatened to call the police. So I said, look, man, are you going to pay us our money back or what? He said, no, I'm not. Well, he called my bluff, so I started knocking on some doors. So he changed his mind after that. He'd already lost one customer who came in while this was happening, and we told her about the bugs, and she turned around and left. He gave us our money back after all, and we went down the road to a much better place. A little more expensive place, but definitely worth it. So we got comfortable, and we got settled in, and then we started to get a little hungry, so we decided to go out and look for something to eat. I've never had Captain D's before, so we decided to try it out, man, and I gotta say, that's some pretty good stuff. We have a Long John Silver's here where we are, but they've really gone downhill. And this place is really great. Great fish, great clams, great shrimp. Oh, God, I got so stuffed, man, I couldn't even finish it all. So we decided to, after a nice meal, to get us a nice night of sleep. That next morning, it was pretty rainy. Matter of fact, it rained all day, so we were pretty exhausted from our previous night at the other motel, so we decided to take it easy that day, and we just stayed in. However, that next morning, we were ready for Longhorn Caverns, so after a nice big Texas breakfast, Mom and I decided we were ready to hit the road to Longhorn Caverns.
Is that the end of the roller coaster ride?
It's not so bad coming back.
Yeah.
kind of scary. Like the other day, it come right up on me. I didn't know until it was going down. I tell you, man. Sometimes that shit gets my blood going, gets my head rushing. And that fainting goat syndrome. Man.
And Gigi had a great time. They've never been this far from home. It's definitely the longest car ride they've ever had. They were excited to see what adventure awaited them next. Unfortunately for them, we couldn't take them to the caverns and just leave them in the van, so their excitement turned into a canine WTF moment when they realized that Barkingham Palace wasn't exactly their idea of a vacation spot. Gigi was mad for a while and held a grudge for like the rest of the day. Early in the park's history, visitors only had access to a small, limited area. A thick layer of debris and mud had accumulated in the cave over a period of the last 1,000,000 years. The debris was painstakingly removed by hand, bucket, and wheelbarrow by workers with the CCC, or the Civilian Conservation Corps. Those guys manually excavated over 3,000 dump trucks worth of debris. They were paid $30 a month, and $25 of that was sent home to family by law. Franklin D. Roosevelt formed the Civilian Conservation Corps during the Great Depression as part of his New Deal work program. Over 50,000 CCC enrollees worked 6 days a week under the supervision of the National Park Service as well as the U.S. Army. It was actually Anglo settlers that first discovered the cavern in the mid-1800s while mining the abundant bat guano which they manufactured into gunpowder for the Confederate Army during the Civil War. The cavern has been a place of wonder and shelter since prehistoric times. One legend, and I say legend because there's actually never been any proof that $1,000 stash of stolen money somewhere inside that cave. Yeah, how'd you like to stumble across that? However, my favorite legend or story of the cavern is the story of Cynthia Ann Parker, who was taken by the Plains Indians of Texas when she was around 34. She was captured by the Texas Rangers during the battle known as the Fort Parker Massacre of 1836, also known as the Fort Parker Raid. The Fort Parker Raid happened in May of 1836 when the Parker family were killed by Comanche, Caddo, and Wichita warriors. 9-year-old Cynthia Ann Parker was captured and lived most of the rest of her life with the Comanche people in the Comanche Nation. She married Pettinocona and gave birth to her son, Quanah Parker, who became a leader of the Comanches and a great warrior who fought in the Red River War of 1874 to 1875. Cynthia's brother, John Richard Parker, was captured as well and later rescued, quotes. He later returned to the Comanche people who he felt were his true people after much difficulties trying to readapt to our society. As I briefly mentioned before, during the Civil War in the 1860s, the cave was used to mine bat guano. The reason being was that the North had blockaded the South and cut off all Confederate supplies, including gunpowder. Bat guano is high in potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal. The perfect combination for gunpowder. However, the history of the caverns doesn't end there. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, the cavern was used as a dance hall. The dance hall is located in the cave as it begins to make its way back to the surface. The room is beautiful and dazzling with white dolomite and corridors of diamond-like calcite crystals. The dance hall was created around 1932 when a small chamber near the surface was discovered. From 1932 to 1934, it served as a diner and a honky-tonk, and a 2,000 square foot dance floor was installed. Smaller corridors in the dance hall are also rumored to have been used as brothels. The main reason that the dance hall was created was to capitalize off of the recent cave fanaticism that was occurring in New Mexico at Carlsbad Caverns. They were hoping to produce Texas's much-needed tax dollars. Public dances were often broadcasted over the radio on WOAI radio in San Antonio. In 1967, during the Cold War and the Red Scare, the Office of Civil Defense licensed Longhorn Cavern as an official nuclear fallout shelter for up to 1,200 people. Fears of a Russian nuclear attack made the cavern a perfect place for not only people to shelter in, but to store barrels of food and water. The barrels were first full of food, then used to store water, then eventually as toilets. Nowadays, Longhorn Cavern is known as a beautiful vacation destination, and for its insightful tours. The tour total distance is a little over a mile, 1.1 mile round trip. My hips and legs really felt it, but it was at a slow pace, and there was plenty of time for us to rest as the tour guide stopped to speak to us. The floor of the cave can be damp, so be sure to wear some shoes with some decent traction. The temperature of the cave was several degrees lower, but comfortable. In fact, I wore my jacket and was pretty hot the whole time. Just keep that in mind, as well as if you're uncomfortable in cooler climates. It takes about 90 minutes to complete the tour. Longhorn Cavern State Park does not charge a daily entrance fee to enter the park. It's free access to park grounds, including picnic areas, hiking trails, historic CCC buildings. Cavern access, however, is a paid guided tour. Those ticket prices are just below $20 though. I think it was like $18.50. Well worth the price. Special shout out to our tour guide Sam. He was a great guide and a good sport for answering all of our frequent questions. Tips are not mandatory, but they sure are appreciated. Now, before we get started with the actual video of the tour, I just wanted to spotlight a few of my favorite things that I saw along the way, deep inside the cavern. Our first stop on the tour takes us to the Queen's Throne, a formation that somewhat resembles a throne. Near the Queen's Throne stands the Watchdog. The Watchdog appears to be man-made, however it is not. In fact, at one time it was a formation that, for whatever reason, was detached. It had been broken during the process and has now been reattached by modern concrete. They then placed it upside down, which gives it the dog-like appearance near the Queen's Throne. The next stop was a large room known as the Indian Council Room. Much evidence has been found showing that early humans used this room and this cave. The cavern walls are heavy with chert, a flint-like rock used by early men for arrowheads and spear tips. One of these arrowheads is on display in the council room. Now, finally, the time came. It was time to take the tour. Well, I just wanted to give one final shout out to all you guys who made it this far. We really do appreciate it, and glad you came with us.
Say hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Here we are waiting for the tour.
Keep our noise levels down, to respect our wildlife, but also to respect any other tour groups we encounter. If we come across a group, we are going to, unless I say otherwise, pass on the right-hand side of the trail. We'll pass them as quickly and as quietly and as respectfully as we possibly can. Sound good? Yeah. Alright, now a couple of frequently asked questions before we get going. It's a nice cool 68 degrees in the cave itself, which is good because you will be walking for 1.1 miles on our tour today. Let's see. I'm a park employee, not a state employee, which means a couple of things. It means that I don't have to wear the big green hat for this job. It also means that tips are both allowed and appreciated, but by no means required. And we're going to keep our noise levels down, to respect our wildlife, but also to respect any other tour groups we encounter. If If we come across a group, we are going to, unless I say otherwise, pass on the right-hand side of the trail. We're going to pass them as quickly and as quietly and as respectfully as we possibly can. Sound good?
Yeah.
Alright, now a couple of frequently asked questions before we get going. It's a nice cool 68 degrees in the cave itself, which is good because you will be walking for 1.1 miles on our tour today. Let's see. I'm a park employee, not a state employee, which means a couple of things. It means that I don't have to wear the big green hat for this job. It also means that tips are both allowed and appreciated, but by no means required. And there are 52 steps going down into our entrance, which means there will be 52 steps coming right back out. So bear that in mind and pace yourselves as need be. Any questions before we get going? Alright, well let's get this show on the road. Once we get down into the cave. No smoking, chewing, or vaping in the cave. This does include chewing gum and cough drops. If you have any of that, make sure you spit that out before we head down into our entrance. We have 2 trash cans on our way down. We'll have a couple of opportunities. The only consumable you can take with you is water. Just plain water. No sparkling water, no flavored water, no soda, no snacks, just water. Now please keep any trash on your person until we get to a trash can. We have exactly 1 inside of our cave, and I'll point it out once we get to it. Please only still photography, and by that I mean stay still while you're doing your photography. If you're looking at your phone or your camera and you're walking around, you're not looking where you're going, and you can get hurt, and that's not fun for anybody. Now you are allowed to use flash photography. The one exception is with our bats. We do have some in the cave, and they are resting at this time of day. The flash tends to disturb them a little bit. So we'll keep our flash turned off, and we're not going to mess with the bats, we're not going to poke the bats, we're not going to breathe on the bats, we're not going to get too close to the bats, we're not going to do anything I haven't even thought of yet to the bats. Now, the that I talked about seeps down through the rock and begins carrying some of that dissolved limestone with it. Eventually, it finds a hollow opening, like our cave, and begins dripping down through the porous limestone that it's traveling through. Now, if those water droplets stay in one place for long enough, they will evaporate, leaving behind their mineral content that they're carrying, calcium carbonate. Now, the cool thing about calcium carbonate, that dissolved limestone, is that it fluoresces under a black light. So I'm going to go ahead and light up this room, and bear in mind, if it is glowing, it is growing.
You know, people don't say that to me too often.
I know.
Okay, I think I got it.
that was it. We were on our way back to the house. We sure did enjoy our trip. It was a great first adventure. It really did wear us out, but man, it was really worth it. It sure did test everything, though. On the drive home, man, we ran into like a really severe thunderstorm, and a tornado was close by. And we ran into some tornado chasers, and we didn't get much footage because we were kind of freaked out. But here's a little bit of what we caught. I'm sorry, I did panic and put my phone on and put it on the little mount on the dash, and it was facing the dash and not me. And yeah, but you can at least still hear us. So I'm glad you made it this far. Thanks for joining us, and what's your destination?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a storm chaser. They're all storm chasers.
Oh, really?
They're looking for the tornado.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, his name is Carl.
Really?
Do you want to sit here and wait it out, or? He said, hey, you see, if he was us, he wouldn't go that way. Since we're fixing to run into a lot of hail.
Well, I guess we're just going to stay right here, I guess. Unless you know where that campsite thing was. That didn't really offer no
Yeah, he said, that's why we're all right here. Now look at his shirt that says storm chaser on it.
Waiting for powering.
Oh, damn, man, I don't like this.
I'm just saying.
He said it's coming right this way now, the tornado, so I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Other people are going that way, Kyle.
I can't see, huh? I don't see shit. Guys, it looks like we may be right in the path of a tornado, but we don't know what the hell to do. There's no place to take shelter near here.
There's nothing.
Here comes the hail. It's going to crack this windshield. It's start hailing in a minute.
I know it's safer in your car than it is out.
Keep your seatbelt on.
Usually it all the way back. Maybe it'll blow over time. Oh God. Please God, please. Hit him. Well, there's a deer. There's the car there. Watch out for cars on the side of the road, baby.
Well, we sat there for a few minutes and then decided to just get back on the road and drive extremely slowly. Couldn't see anything, not 2 feet in front of me. But it didn't take but about 2.5, 3 miles, and we finally drove out of it and got home safe and worn out, but we really enjoyed it.